Hello, welcome to a witchy video. It is the season of the witch. It is the Halloween season, and I can't remember if this was, it was not last year, because last year I was moving house in October. Year before, I did a Which Witch Wins vlog and read a trio of witchy books and ranked them. And I want to do that again, but I've narrowed it down a little bit. And we are doing a trio of cozy witches in this vlog. Not quite the scary season witches, maybe, but the cozy witches is what we're aiming for today. So welcome to that vlog. I'm very excited to get into some witchy reads. I feel like I kind of hoard them for the Halloween season because I didn't read a lot of horror and scary stuff, so I would save like the witchy ones and the atmospheric ones for this time of year. So I'm quite looking forward to this. But whilst we're on the topic of the spooky season, and before we get too far into this video, I would like to say a big thank you to Wild for partnering with me on this video. I have worked with Wild a few times in the past, and they have recently released their ghosty case for the Halloween season. How cute is this? Perfect for the spooky season. Although we're talking witches in this vlog, ghosts are also well on brand for the season. Doesn't it just look like a piece of Halloween decor? It's gorgeous. This is, if I can open it, there we go, a aluminium deodorant case. Wild, if you are unfamiliar with them, are shaking up packaging in the bathroom space with your reusable cases. This is an aluminium deodorant case. As I say, they also do shower gel cases, but you have your fancy little case and your fancy little inserts. This is the new Halloween one as well, which is vanilla bean buttercream, which smells good enough to eat. And you just pop the bottom of your case out and pop the refill onto that little sticky bit there. There we go. I did get it out. And then pop it back in its case. Boom. Twisty, twisty. Refillable deodorant. And that smells really good. I will be putting this on my pits very soon. I am a big fan of Wild because of their whole eco-friendly mission. Wild is powered by plants. They use natural ingredients. They are partnered with On a Mission to help plant trees. They are very much a brand that aligns with the things that I value. This honestly smells like cake and I kind of want to lick it. But I'm not going to do that because that would be weird. I'm also super excited to share with you that I have a 20% off discount code that you can use, which is Jadey20. I will also put a QR code up on the screen here that you can scan. I will leave the link down in the comments. All of the ways for you to go and check out Wild's range. Get your mitts on some eco-friendly bathroom bits and pieces. The discount code does not last forever though. It is a limited time discount, so be sure to hurry on over there if you want to make the most of that. But yeah, I am a big fan of the brand. I've been using Wild myself for a long time now. I couldn't even tell you how long anymore. The ghosty case is super duper cute and perfect for the season, so go and check them out. But yeah, link down below to them. Thank you very much, Wild, for partnering with me on this one. I am excited to get into the reading. I'm excited to get into the witchiness. I have 3 witchy books that I would like to get to in this video. So let's go through what they are. Number 1 is The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields. This came in a Fairy Loot box and I'm unsure what I'm going to think of this. I feel like this could be leaning into romantasy genre. Maybe. I don't know if this is going to be my cup of tea. I don't know if this is going to be too romance heavy, too flowery, but maybe like just the right atmosphere, just the right amount of whimsy. I don't really know what to expect. This is about a young woman called Marigold Claude who has always preferred the company of the spirits as opposed to the many suitors that she may have that are trying to woo her. But instead of the life of marriage and being a wife and mother, she would rather be whisked away by her grandmother to the family cottage with an offer to train her as a honey witch. But there is a curse. No one can fall in love with a honey witch, which is where I think it's going to fall into more romantasy, and there's going to be a stronger romance plot over there. We will see. We will see. Next up, I have The Nature of Witches. This one is YA, so I'm, again, not sure how I'm going to feel about it. And it's also on my self-destruct list, but it is one of Steph's favourites, and I have heard it is very atmospheric and quite beautiful, so there is potential, but it's not one that's like shouted out to me a whole lot. But when I'm thinking about witchy books, The Nature of Witches does shout out to me. And then the last one is The House Witch, which sounds way up my street. It's foodie. I don't know an awful lot about it, so maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit by saying it's way up my street. But it's cozy fantasy. I think it's set in a castle, and our main character is a chef. So foodie, cozy, witchy. I have high hopes for this one. So between these three, I realise you can't see that bottom one. Between these three, I have mixed expectations, but I'm excited to see how it goes. I am going to kick things off with The Honey Witch, so I will start this one a little bit later on. But yeah, that is the plan for this. Let's see which cozy witch wins. Time for a little update on The Honey Witch. I'm up to chapter 8, which is 74 pages in. And so far so good. I feel like it's moved pretty quickly. Like, we've got to, like, her being a honey witch pretty quickly, which I'm glad about, because when it first started off and it was all very, like, high society, let's find her a husband, I was like, oh, I don't know how long I'm gonna want to persevere with that. But it wasn't very long at all, and we've got to the absolutely idyllic land that her grandmother lives in. So our main character, Marigold, is now... Oh, sorry, I completely just covered you with the book. Our main character, Marigold, is now in Innisfree with her grandmother. Her grandmother is a honey witch, and Marigold is a honey witch. She didn't know she was a honey witch, but she has now followed her grandmother to Innisfree to begin her training as a honey witch, to become the honey witch she was destined to be. But in accepting magic and accepting her role as a honey witch, she has to accept the curse that comes with that, which is that no one can ever love her. I mean, it may be a little bit predictable that she might fall in love. But yeah, so far so good. It's not as, like, flowery and fluffy as I thought it was going to be in terms of, like, writing style. I think because the cover is all floral and it's the honey witch and it's, like, the description of it is very, like, whimsical, flowery, beautiful. I expected the writing style to be that. And it hasn't been so far, which has been good, because the writing, therefore, is, like, reading a bit quicker than I thought it would, and as I say, the pacing of the plot has been quicker than I thought it would be, so pleasantly surprised and intrigued. There's bees. I mean, as there should be in a book called The Honey Witch that's got bees all on the side of it and all on the cover of it, and as the little chapter motif every time. Yeah. Those bees. It's very cute. I'm going to continue. Hello, update time again. I'm making some good progress in this. I have just hit part 3, and I'm on page 203. Page 203, part 3. Our honey witch is making friends. Our honey witch is having a cute time. Darkness is looming, and there are certain things that are irritating me. But I think it's just my impatience, and like it feels very obvious and predictable a certain element of this, and it's kind of like bugging me that Marigold like hasn't picked up on this. And I mean, watch me now be really wrong and that not be the case at all. But the element that I think is predictable, like, it's bugging me that it's so obvious, but no one's saying anything. Because they don't know, they're oblivious. But it's cute. The vibe is still very vibey, and I'm still enjoying. I just have a slight bug with it. But overall, still having a cute, cozy time. Definitely has that like whimsical, witchy vibe that we wanted to achieve with this vlog. But yeah, I reckon the next time I update you on this one will probably be when I have finished it. Unless there's another part. But maybe just when I finished it. So we'll see you then. I have finished The Honey Witch. The thing that was annoying me continued to annoy me. And it continued to irritate me up until... That's really noisy, Finn. Continued to annoy me up until the point where our main character realises what I assume all readers will have already worked out at that point. And I don't know if the foreshadowing is just really obvious. I think it is, like, really obvious to the point where it is a little bit annoying that she doesn't work it out. Or if it's just not supposed to annoy us that much and we're supposed to be, I don't know, rooting for it. I don't know, but it did taint my enjoyment a little bit of the second half of this. But overall, I am pleasantly surprised by my reading experience of this. It gave me very similar vibes to The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst, I think that's by. In the notion of, like, our main character goes to an island that they've been to as a child but haven't been back to for many, many years, and has to start a new life there, start up a shop of kinds, get to know the customers, build relationships, build a life on this new island, embrace a different kind of magic, embrace a different lifestyle to what they've had before. And it does kind of have that, like, cozy, whimsical vibe that The Spell Shop also had. This, however, does have, like, a different level to that, whereas that is cozy fantasy through and through. This does have, like, a darker magical element to it. There is a bigger threat. This has romance much more centrally to its plot. Our main character is cursed to never have anyone fall in love with her. And normally, a romance-centered plot would make me feel a certain kind of way, and this didn't do that. Like, I did enjoy that part of it as well as the rest of it, and I think it was all round pretty good. There was just that little element that annoyed me a little bit. Anyway, I've put it through Core Pile, and it has just scraped a 4-star. I did think it would land on a 4-star, but I think that, like, lingering irritation has kind of, as I say, brought down some of those scores. Characters are 6. When I was thinking about characters other than our two main characters, our two main love interests, the rest of the characters are very... I don't want to say empty. They do have characteristics, but they're not important, so they're not explored a great deal, so I can't give characters an incredibly high score. So characters was brought down a little bit because of that. Atmosphere got an 8. Atmosphere was still very high. Writing got a 7. Plot got a 6 because predictable. Intrigue got a 7. Logic got an 8. And enjoyment got a 7. So it scraped a 7 overall, which is a 4-star for The Honey Witch. But I did enjoy myself, so pleasantly surprised by that. Finn's now got the zoomies. Pleasantly surprised by that. So that is book 1 of 3 done. And I am next going to move on to The House Witch. I don't actually know a great deal about this, so we're going to explore that together. I've heard good things and bad things from people. Some people DNFing this pretty early, some people loving it. But the cover, I'm going to put a picture of the cover up so you can see it in all its colourful glory rather than on my Kindle. The cover is giving super cozy fantasy vibes. I do not know if that is true. We will see. Finn is still zooming in. Are you good? Are you good? Oh. Go. Go. Don't hit my book. Go. You're crazy. He's crazy. Anyway, I'm gonna read, chapter 1. Finn, with 1 N, though. He's Finn with 2. But chapter 1 is Finn. Okay, I'm gonna read now. Do you want the good news or the bad news? I'm gonna give you both. So, the good news is I am on chapter 12 of The House Witch, which is page 95. 21% into The House Witch. There's the good news. The tone I was really enjoying. Oh, accidentally slipped into past tense. The tone I'm really enjoying. The character I'm quite liking. The main character is called Finn. I don't know if you can see my Finn over there. Maybe. And Finn is a house witch. It's cute. It's cozy. He gets a job in a castle kitchen. There is, like, something political going on in the greater world, but basically Finn is the royal cook. And he's a house witch, which means he can, like, enchant the things in a home and make a home very homey, and the whole point of him is this kitchen is this safe, cozy, lovely space. Because he's a house witch and the kitchen is his house. And he can make incredible food. Loving the food content. I like a foodie book anyway. Really enjoying the food content. The tone is a bit different than I expected. Like, he uses the insult chaos demon of Satan's anus. And he has, like, he's quite sweary. He's very blunt. He's an interesting character, and I have been liking that. The bad news. 0 trigger warnings, but here's me giving you the trigger warnings for domestic violence. Domestic violence is pretty much my only trigger. I can do brutality in other ways, but domestic violence I cannot do. And the last chapter had a flashback of a situation. I had no idea that this book had any domestic violence. Our main character did at one point say, like, oh, my father wasn't very nice, but it was very much a, like, passing comment. Turns out that's relevant. And we then have the flashback. I don't like domestic violence in books. It makes me feel uncomfortable. As I say, it is one of my only triggers. It can turn me off a book very quickly because it makes me uncomfortable. It makes me feel icky. That's the whole point of it being a trigger, right? So, I have asked people if, like, is that it? Does it come back? Turns out the abuser does come into the story. So I don't think I can do it. Which is sad, because I've just told you about how much I was enjoying it. I was enjoying the setting, I was enjoying the characters, I was enjoying the tone of it all. and then it had to go and have my one singular trigger. So, unfortunately, I think that does mean that the House Witch is going to have to be a DNF for me. And for a book that is kind of pushed into the cozy fantasy category, I get it, for the most part. I'm only 95 pages in, so I can only judge on the first 95 pages, obviously. Like, it was cozy, it was warm, it was homey, that's the point. I don't know about you, I don't think domestic violence has a place in the cozy fantasy genre if the whole point is coziness. I don't know, maybe I get wanting a character to have some sort of trauma to overcome. But I don't like that. Like, they could have been... I don't know. I mean, this is just me, it's just a trigger for me. For other people, domestic violence might not bother them at all, and they might think like, oh yeah, this thickens a character, gives them more depth, gives us their background, and so on. I get that. But for me, I don't like it, and what I'm expecting, cozy, warm, good time, yes, maybe there would be like a big bad, like we've got cozy, warm magic, maybe there would be a bad magic to combat, and maybe there is later in there, but the fact that the leader of, I'm assuming, leader of bad magic is also going to be the personal abuser of our main character, I'm out at that point. So I am done with the House Witch. I have been thinking on it, because this was last night, I read that before I went to sleep, and I just thought, right, I'm going to sleep on it, I'm going to think about it, whether I want to continue or not. I've asked the questions to other people, some people who have read it before, just generally asking if people think I should continue or not. And the consensus is no. I've also had someone tell me, like, even outside of the domestic violence, they DNF'd the book as well because they just thought it was too long and boring. It is a 500-page cozy fantasy. I can't pass any judgment on that though, because obviously I didn't get that far. But that's not how I foresaw this going, in all honesty, because I didn't know there was any domestic violence in there. 0 trigger warnings in the, like, pretext in the book, which, I mean, is an ongoing thing, isn't it, about whether books should have trigger warnings? Is it spoilery to give trigger warnings? I don't know. Maybe I should have just done more research. But I don't look books up before I start reading them. Anyway, it is what it is. I'm not mad about it, but I'm maybe a little bit mad about it. So, if I were to rank this against The Honey Witch, The Honey Witch is winning currently. Which leads us on to the third and final of this trio of witchy books, The Nature of Witches. Now, this one is also in my self-destruct pile, so I didn't anticipate liking this. So of the three, the one that I thought I would like the most is the one I've ended up DNFing, because The Honey Witch definitely took me by surprise, and this is in my self-destruct pile because I don't think I'm gonna like it all that much. Please surprise me. This I know is one of Steph's favourites though, which is exciting, and I know she's reread it recently and it has held up for her, so props to that. But this is, 1, beautiful, 2, a YA, I do believe, with seasonal elemental witches, and it's somehow tied to global warming. Please, for the love of God, don't have domestic violence in here. I can't do it twice. Steph would never have let me read it if it's got that in it, so that's fine. Yeah, we'll see how this one goes. Hello, very quick update on The Nature of Witches. I am about halfway, page 206. I hope to finish it tonight. It's been a couple of days. I've been really suffering with migraines, but I've been to a doctor and got some new medication for them, so hopefully they stay away. But I'm now 206 pages into this. And I feel very meh about it. Like, it's fine, it's nice, it's very pretty, but I don't really care much for the characters or necessarily the plot at this point. I feel very much like I could take this or leave this. Like, it's just very average, very meh, very okay. Like, I can see the appeal because it's got that, like, seasonal magic that people seem to really enjoy, and it does have a pretty way with words, and, like, seasonal descriptions are quite pretty when it's tied to nature, and the way the magic in this is tied to essentially global warming, and the seasonal witches controlling elements and stuff to try and combat global warming and so on. Like, it's nice, but ultimately right now I am just feeling very okay about it. So not really an enormous amount to report, but I thought I had just better give you an update on it whilst I'm about halfway, because I am probably gonna sit and finish this tonight, and then we will be ranking the witches. I predict that it's gonna be the Honey Witch on top, and then the Nature Witches, and then the one that I had to DNF. So definitely not how I expected the rankings to go. But let's see if the last 170-ish pages changes my mind at all. We will see how the rest of this goes. It is the next day. I finished my book quite late last night, so didn't come back for you. But can report that I have now finished The Nature of Witches. And I had an okay time with this. Like, I think I explained when I was about halfway, like, it's very pretty, it's nice seasonal magic, it's tied to global warming, so it's got like a nice sort of message. It was nice, and it was pretty, but it didn't do much for me. I didn't really, like, get sucked into it, and I very much the whole time was kind of like I could take this or leave this. I finished it, so it was by no means bad enough for me to, like, DNF it. It wasn't bad. Bad is not the right word. It wasn't bad at all. It was fine. It was good, even. But I just feel very indifferent about it. Like, I think this is one that's probably not gonna stay with me. I don't think this is one that I'm gonna think about possibly ever again. And I think it's, for me at least, quite forgettable. Like a fleeting, pretty thing that's, now I've read it, I'm probably just never gonna think about it again. But it was okay. And I feel like, other than that, I don't really have a whole lot to say on this one. I obviously, like, global warming and taking care of the planet is something that I am passionate about. Shout out to Wild. So, like, the content of it was up my street. But just something about the execution of it and the characters and so on, I just didn't like gel with, didn't love, and I think they will be fairly forgettable. But it was an okay, good time at the point of reading. And I feel like this is such a, like, throwaway sort of review, because what does that mean? It doesn't really mean a lot for you. Like, it was okay, it was pretty. I'm gonna move on with my life, and I don't think this book has had an impact, and it was just like, cool, you know? Which isn't enormously different to how I felt about this one, in all honesty. I think I liked The Honey Witch a little bit more. It had a little bit more of that, like, cozy fantasy vibe. And I suppose it has a bit more of a traditional, there is a bad guy, there is a good guy, which, something to note in this one is there isn't, like, an antagonist. There isn't a bad guy to fight against. It is just all about nature and the planet and global warming. So I suppose global warming's the bad guy in this one, whereas this one does have a bit more of a traditional antagonist. So maybe this follows more traditional roots of a fantasy story, whereas this doesn't so much. I liked the romance in this one better than in this one. I like the atmosphere in this one better than in this one. So overall, the Honey Witch wins. So in terms of my overall ranking for which cozy witch wins, it's the Honey Witch, which I did not see coming. This very much has not gone how I thought it would go. So Honey Witch is my winner, followed by The Nature of Witches, followed by my Kindle with The House Witch, which I had to DNF. And in all honesty, I very much thought that this was going to be that way. Or maybe, well, Nature of Witches has been in my self-destruct pile. That didn't necessarily mean it was going to be bad, and I thought this was going to be more romance-centred. So yeah, I did expect it to be the other way around. And I have been proven wrong. I am pleasantly surprised by this coming out on top, and I'm very glad because it's such a beautiful book. And it's honey and it's bees, and I love that, so I'm glad that I can, you know, kind of display this one with a bit of pride, like, yeah, I read that one and I liked it. So yeah, that comes out on top. As for this being in my self-destruct pile, it's not anymore because I've read it. And then the situation with The House Witch is unfortunate. I think there could have been a lot of potential for me to enjoy that, but it just personally didn't work out for me. So it is what it is. But that is my trio of cozy witches. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have other witchy recommendations for a trio of other kinds of witches, throw them my way. Maybe I should do like a trio of dark witches. Ooh. I feel like witches always come in threes, by the way, so it's always going to be a trio of witches. But yeah, I've enjoyed this little witchy experience. I hope you have enjoyed watching. Thank you once again to Wild for sponsoring this video. Links, of course, will be down below for you to check them out. But thank you for watching, and I will see you in whatever comes next. Bye!